Hello and welcome to United Report. This is your home for all the latest Manchester United news, match updates, transfer stories, and in-depth analysis. Stay connected and never miss a moment. Subscribe now to stay ahead with everything happening at Old Trafford. Saturday marks the return to action for 4 Premier League clubs, though not in the league itself. Fulham will take on Crystal Palace in the first of the weekend's FA Cup quarter-finals, with Brighton and Nottingham Forest meeting later in the afternoon. With the final international break of the season now done and dusted, all 20 top-flight clubs have clear air between themselves and their league, and in some cases cup responsibilities. Several clubs remain in Europe, with the possibility that English teams win the Champions League, Europa League and Conference League. In terms of the league, it will take a big swing for things to change when it comes to the title race and the relegation spots. Liverpool are 12 points clear at the top, while 17th place Wolves are 9 points clear of the drop zone. There has been plenty of transfer chat as well, not least when it comes to the league leaders. Trent Alexander-Arnold appears destined for Real Madrid, but things are less certain when it comes to Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah. After a fortnight without club football, things are starting to heat up. Here are United Report's latest lines from the Premier League and beyond. Manchester United head coach RUBEN Amorim could have as many as 5 first-teamers back again after injury. United's next game comes against Nottingham Forest on April 1st, with a chance to build on the win at Leicester before the break. Lenny Yoro has returned to training after an ankle injury, while fellow centre-back Harry Maguire is also nearing a return. With both sidelined last time out, teenager Aiden Heaven was given a start at the King Power Stadium. Luke Shaw is also close to being available again, having not played since December, while backup keepers Altay Bayindir and Tom Heaton have returned to training. Patrick Dorgu is also available to face Forest, having served a ban for his red card against Ipswich. Milos Kerkez has spoken about his future plans in a rare interview. The Bournemouth and Hungary left-back has emerged as a top target for Liverpool as they look to bring in a long-term successor to the experienced Andy Robertson. As a kid, you dreamed to play at the highest level, win the trophies, be on the best teams, the former AZ star told The Athletic. These are the things that my agent is on, my dad is on. It is not something that they occupy me with because the season is still going, so there's no point to talk about anything. There's games left. The FA Cup is important for us. These are big things. And then, like I say, when someone comes in for you, you never know what's going to happen or where you're going to end up. In the summer, we will see what happens. Crystal Palace striker Jean-Philippe Mateta will don a Peter Cech-style helmet on his return to action. The Frenchman suffered a horror injury during Palace's FA Cup 5th round victory over Millwall, but is in contention to make his comeback in the quarter-finals. It's like a water polo helmet, Palace boss Oliver Glasner said, comparing it to the headgear former Chelsea keeper Cech wore after a head injury, but with one ear. In water polo, it's so they don't get water into their ears. He has it just on one side. It sounds crazy, but we are used to it. The boss added, he has trained with us for 2 weeks with this protection. It's also important for him to train a little bit with an internal game in the international break, so he could play for 60 minutes without any problems. So he's ready. A number of Manchester United players think they know why Jadon Sancho failed under Erik Ten Hag. Sancho, 25, arrived at United to much fanfare in 2021, with the Red Devils paying Borussia Dortmund £73 million after spending the best part of 18 months trying to sign him. In his first season, playing under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ralf Rangnick, the winger only showed glimpses of his talent, and Ten Hag's arrival was supposed to herald a fresh start. Sancho continued to underwhelm though, with Ten Hag even trying to give his career a hard reset by giving the 23-time England international 3 months away from United to work individually. Sancho returned in the spring and finally looked poised to make good on his price tag in the 2023-24 season. But less than a month into the campaign, he had a high-profile falling out with Ten Hag. His comments on social media effectively accusing the Dutchman of lying after being left out of the squad ahead of a trip to Arsenal due to his performances in training led to his exile. Sancho wasn't even allowed to eat in the first-team canteen because of his refusal to apologise to Ten Hag, and in January 2024 he returned to Dortmund on loan. The former Manchester City prospect impressed, helping the Bundesliga giants reach the Champions League final, and later that summer, he and Ten Hag buried the hatchet, or so it seemed. After not setting the world alight in pre-season and missing a penalty in the Community Shield, Ten Hag allowed Sancho to be loaned out to Chelsea, where he started brightly, but has failed to register a goal or assist since January 4th. The Blues have the option to buy Sancho permanently for between £20 million and £25 million, but what's more likely is Chelsea paying a £5 million fee to terminate his loan at the end of the season. That begs the question, could he play for United again? According to the Manchester Evening News, influential figures in the dressing room at Old Trafford have no issue with Sancho's personality, but rather his football. Those same United players felt that the 25-year-old was unable to cope with the lofty demands of playing for the club before Ten Hag exiled him. Co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe seems to agree, recently naming Sancho as one of 5 players on United's books who were either not good enough or overpaid. The man who replaced Ten Hag after he was sacked earlier this season, RUBEN Amorim, has also batted away questions on Sancho's future. "I'm just focused on my players and my problems," Amorim last month. "Sancho is not my problem." It's unlikely then that Sancho will see out his contract with United, which runs until 2026. He reportedly wants to go back to Dortmund on a permanent basis, having made himself into one of the most exciting young players on the planet in Germany before his move to United changed things. Manchester United have been handed a huge boost with Lenny Yoro and 4 other stars returning. The Frenchman has been sidelined for the past 2 games with an ankle injury, but it appears that the defender is closing in on a return to the side, having been spotted in training after the international break. Yoro has played a full role in United's preparations for their chasing Nottingham Forest next Tuesday, and he is not the only defender who looks set to return to action sooner rather than later. Yoro's fellow centre-back Harry Maguire is also edging towards a return. The England defender has been sidelined since early March with a thigh injury, but looks to have recovered and could now take to the pitch against Forest. There is one further defensive injury boost for Amorim with the return of Luke Shaw. The left-back has seen his season ruined by injury, having made just 3 appearances throughout the campaign. But he too is now back in training and could potentially be included in the squad for next week's trip to the City ground. Away from defence, there has also been good news in goal, where Altay Bayindir and Tom Heaton are both back in training. Away from injuries, January signing Patrick Dorgu can return after serving a 3-match suspension for his red card against Ipswich. The returnees are all huge for the Red Devils as they attempt to navigate a tricky few weeks. They take on Forest in midweek ahead of next weekend's Manchester derby at Old Trafford. Amorim's side then face Lyon in the first leg of their Europa League quarter-final clash. And while Amorim will be delighted to see all of the 5 return, there are still a few concerns for United. Long-term absentee Lisandro Martinez is still sidelines with his knee injury, while Ahmad's return will not occur until closer to the end of the campaign. Centre-backs Aidan Heaven and Johnny Evans are also both still out, the former being injured in the comprehensive 3-0 win against Leicester before the end of the campaign. Speaking after that game, United boss Ruben Amorim said, "Well, we have to evaluate during the week. He's a young kid, he doesn't know how to explain what he's feeling, so it's hard for us to know something. He's a little bit more calm now, but we have to assess during the week. But he's doing a great job and it's a shame if he has something for quite a long time. We wish him all the best." Manchester United may have to pay well over Francisco Trincão's release clause if they want to land the Sporting Lisbon star due to a complicated sell-on clause. Ruben Amorim is keen to reunite with the player whom he coached in Portugal and is confident he would be a good fit in the Premier League following a brief stint at Wolves. Sporting are braced to lose a number of their leading lights, Victor Gyökeres among them. As a result, they're prepared to dig their heels in and demand well over the £50 million release clause Trincão is said to have in his contract. The 25-year-old joined from Barcelona, but the Spanish giants will take 50% of his future sell-on fee, reports The Sun, which limits the amount Sporting will land. Amorim's former side want £35 million, which could mean they'd need to sell for at least £70 million once Barcelona have taken their cut. Sporting are ready to offer Trincao a new contract in a bid to keep him at the club, but the lure of a move back to England may be too much. The issue for the Manchester outfit will be a lack of funds, unless they can win the Europa League, which would result in Champions League qualification. Unless that happens, the team are set for an all-time low finish in the Premier League, hampering their summer plans. AMORIM'S squad is in major need of an overhaul despite constant spending in recent years. However, the new manager may have to do that on the cheap if no silverware is claimed come May. Already United have missed out on Giovanni Quenda, whom they were heavily linked with. The youngster came through the ranks at Sporting and AMORIM was keen to bring the player to Old Trafford, but Chelsea have swooped in and already secured a deal ahead of the summer. There had been inevitable talk of Gyökeres, who has become one of Europe's top frontmen, following AMORIM to Manchester. The Swede, though, is keen to play in the Champions League, which makes a move to Old Trafford unlikely. AMORIM's only signing since joining the club has been Patrick Dorgu, who joined from Lille, with the player able to play the wing-back role that features in the new system. The United boss has stuck to his unique philosophy, which will require certain players if it is to be a success. That means several areas will have to be targeted in the summer, with doubts surrounding a host of United's players. The club's hierarchy were willing to listen to offers for almost the entire squad, including the likes of Kobbie Mainoo, such as their need to raise funds.